Now it's time for a question from the audience. Thank you so much for recording these and sending them in.
Hi, Chani. This is one of your fans for a long time. Thank you for being an astrologer who can say fascism and free Palestine. I'm
All day.
calling in. I'm a Scorpio rising.
Hi.
And I've got a lot of business in my second house of work and finances this week. And it's been confusing for me because I'm also a stay-at-home parent. And I'm wondering how you look at houses for people whose work and home life and children all converge. So looking at so many houses and how to distinguish what's going on when something's happening in a specific house that I might be confused about.
Yeah. Love this question. If you listen to your readings, your weekly readings on the Chani app, you're going to be sick of me saying this, but what I try to do, what I actually always do, I don't think I do one reading without doing it. If there's something happening in your second house of money, assets, or resources, or your sixth house of work, or your 10th house of career, you will always hear me do this. This is happening in your second house of money, assets, resources, and livelihood if you have a job. If you don't have a job, I want you to think about your relationship with money, your relationship with the material world. All of us have to deal with money, whether we work or not, because we live in capitalism. Even if we didn't live in capitalism, the second house is literally your stuff. It's this chair I'm sitting on. It's these lights. It's this microphone. Like, this is my second house. My second house is all my stuff. But it's also what's in my wallet, what's in my bank account, my relationship with money, whether I work or not. We all have to have a relationship with money. So anything going on in your second house, if you do not work for a living, or if you're in between jobs, if you're retired, just think about your financial life. And I'll always in your weekly readings, always, and also always in your horoscopes, we really try to write in a way that's like understanding that everyone's got a very different life and a very different situation. And there's times where we're doing this and times where we're doing that. If something's happening in your sixth house of work, you'll always hear me say in your readings, think about domestic chores, think about your labor. It's not just the work we get paid for. Actually, the sixth house quite often is the work that we don't get paid for, or the work that we don't get paid fairly for. And it's also a place where you can think of volunteer work or being of service. The sixth house is a really good area of life. If there's stuff going on in your sixth house, it's really good to be like, okay, I can channel this energy through doing acts of service, through doing something that isn't about me, through doing something that is about being of service or of benefit to other people, animals, the earth, whatever you want to lend your energy and your talent and your expertise towards in the world to make it a better place. But it's a selfless kind of place. So if you do have a job, you might notice that like both your domestic life and your job gets overwhelming. Say if you've got a Mercury retrograde happening through your sixth house, or a full moon in your sixth house, or stuff going on that's like major. 10th house, if you don't have a career, think of your 10th house, which you'll always hear me say in the readings, is also just your public life. It's like what you're known for. Like once I walk out my door, that's my 10th house. I'm out in the street. I mean, it's my third house too, because it's my local environment. But anything you know about me isn't because you know me, it's because you know something about me because of what I put out into the world. It doesn't have to be necessarily like my literal work. And quite often, the 10th house will show you the result of whatever effort you've put in to showing up in the world. Again, whether or not that's about capital, whether or not that's about profession, whether or not that's about money, it doesn't really matter. And because we live in capitalism, most of us have to, work, or we have something to do with an industry or, career, such a heavy focus in this world. And because we live in capitalism, we're told that the basis of our self-esteem is from our contributions to the world in a capitalistic kind of way, right? So we can boil it all down to say, second house is what you own, what owns you. We do live in that kind of a situation too, but also just your relationship to money and stuff. If you have a job, it's also your livelihood. The sixth house is about your domestic life, your domestic chores, pets, doing the dishes, vacuuming. You'll hear me talk about that a lot. Picking up the kids, doing the things, volunteer work. If you have a job, it's also like the part of your job that is a slog. Like the part of your job that's like, well, I have to do this in order to get to all the other stuff. And I might not always want to do this part because this part is like the work. It's like the mechanics of things. So the sixth house is about how we show up and be of service to either our profession or our fellow human beings or animals or the earth itself. What do we give back in a way? How can we be selfless? And also, if you've got a lot of placements in the sixth house, I've often seen that it's a situation where people might work on behalf of those that are fighting for workers' rights, or you're fighting for workers' rights, because it's also about that. It's about being taken advantage of also for your labor. There's a history there, we could say. So, the houses are like multifaceted. 10th house, think of it. If you have a career, great. Think of it as your career, but it's also your public life. It's what I know about you when you're outside. It's basically that, right? It's like, what does the accumulation of your life events kind of add up to? Again, because we live in capitalism, so much of that is lived out through the profession, but it doesn't have to be. It could be your vocation. It might have nothing to do with money, but the thing that you really care about and that you offer the world because you want to offer that to the world, not because of money. And also, it's okay, if it's also about money, it's okay. So 10th house, profession, public life, reputation, your worldly roles, your vocation. Second house, what you own, what owns you, your relationship to money and stuff, and livelihood if you have a job. Sixth house, the work of your life, the labor of your life, the effort you've got to put in, the chores, the animals, the kids, the whatever, the rigmarole of daily life. And if you have a job, it's like your work. It's the working part of your job. It's not necessarily the glory, but there's a lot of glory in the work, right? Sorry, I'm always going to say that, but I hope that's helpful. So always think of these things as like, okay, I do have a job. I don't have a job. What does this actually mean? Oh, money or stuff or my relationship to the material realm. You'll also hear me say that a lot as well. Okay, I hope that helps. Let me know.